Hi, it's Claire here from Circus Kimbo. I'm going to show you a few different options for juggling balls that you probably already have at home. So number one, a pair of socks, mandarin, or some other things that you can find in your kitchen. Slightly more advanced option, I'm going to show you how to make this balloon juggling ball and an extra fancy homemade juggling ball. So we're going to start by making the balloon juggling balls. You need rice, balloons, and freezer bags. You're going to start by taking one of the freezer bags, open it all out. I like to turn it inside out so the pointy ends are on the inside. Then we're going to grab your bag of rice and fill it on up. You want an amount that fits comfortably inside your hand. Make sure that your juggling balls are all the same size. It's a really good idea to measure them. So if you've got a measuring cup, a measuring jug, you can also use a set of kitchen scales. So you're going to twist up nice and gently, leaving a little bit of airspace in there. You don't want it to be too tight. Then with your bag of rice, that's all done, and we can start making the pretty outside. So you grab one of your balloons and you're going to cut the top off the balloon, making sure you leave enough space that you can stretch it out, so you can stretch it over your bag of rice. Now make sure you press the ends of the bag down into your juggling ball. And then we grab our second balloon, again cutting the top off, stretching it out, and this one we're going to add some little holes in it, just to give it a bit more of an interesting decoration. Just make sure that when you do stretch it out, you're covering up the hole that's in the first balloon. And leave it here if you want. I'm actually going to add a third balloon just to make it a little bit more solid, and so it stands up a little bit better to repeated dropping. So again, cut off the top, cut some little decorative holes, and you're done. Ta-da! So this next one's a little more complicated, so if you just want something to test out whether or not you like juggling, stick to one of the earlier options. This is for if you know that you're interested in juggling and you want a really nice set of handmade juggling balls. So I'm drawing out the pattern on a piece of paper. I'm actually going to upload this pattern to our online store so that you can get that if you don't want to do your own measurement. It should be symmetrical both ways, so whether you fold it horizontally or vertically, it should be symmetrical. And then we're going to take that pattern and cut it out of your fabric. I'm using two different coloured fabrics here so that I have two contrasting panels. We're going to use 4 panels for these juggling balls. And it doesn't use a whole lot of fabric. I'm just using some scrap fabric from my stash. And then cutting out the pattern. Once you've done that, you need 2 from one fabric and 2 from the other fabric. Pinning it on and then cutting it out of the fabric. So then you're going to take those 4 pieces and you're going to put them in pairs, matching them up to the different coloured fabrics. Pin them together along one edge, all the way from one tip to the next. I actually would advise that you put your first pin right at the top, because my sewing machine tried to eat these when I didn't do it right at the top. Once you've done a straight stitch down each edge, we're going to come back and do a zigzag stitch, catching both pieces of the fabric so that we've got a little bit of extra support at the back to make it harder for our filling to fall through. You're then going to take your 2 halves of the juggling ball and match them up at the top seam and the bottom seam, so where it's pointy at the top, trying to make sure that you line up the folds. So you want to make sure as well that you're careful about which way the fabric is folding. I've taken the white fabric and kept that straight because it's the stiffer fabric, but it's up to you as long as you just make sure that you do the same thing at the top and the bottom. And then pin it together, and you're going to sew all the way around the edges, just leaving a little bit of a gap so that you can turn it inside out. And again, we're going to zigzag around this edge, making sure you catch both pieces of the fabric in your zigzag. And we're done with the machine sewing. So next up, we're turning this inside out using that little gap that you left. I did not leave a big enough gap for this one, and it took a really long time to turn it inside out, but just be patient, you'll get there eventually. And we're almost there. It's starting to look like a juggling ball. So then we're going to take our rice. I tried just tipping it in and discovered that was going to be a terrible idea. So if you have a funnel, grab one. I did not have a funnel and improvised one out of a piece of paper I had lying around. I kind of used the funnel to help spread it up because we're filling it up pretty much to the brim. As with my balloon juggling balls, I think I made these ones about the same size. So I wanted it so that it comfortably fitted into my hand. I wanted it relatively full, but not too solid, so it was uncomfortable to catch. I think these ended up being about 125 grams as well. And the last step, we're going to hand sew this bit together. So if you've done hand sewing before and you know what you're doing, then by all means do it your own way. The way that I sewed this shut is I got some thread, doubled it over and tied a knot in the end so it was extra secure. So then you take your thread, start it by putting your needle through the fabric, doing a loop and pushing the needle through the knot. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting my needle into the fold of each side of the fabric. So I'm putting it through the fold on one side, pulling it through, and then bringing the needle over to the other side and putting it through the fold, pulling it tight. So doing it this way means that the stitching's hidden in the folds, is nice and strong, and hopefully my juggling balls will hold together nice and solidly. And we're done. I'll be honest, I was expecting to make one of these to demo how to make them, but I really like them and ended up making myself a full set of 5. And here are all of your different options. So I hope this has inspired you to go for a wander through your house, see what you can juggle, and learn a new skill